Disclaimer. The character I call Kukuki is actually Kukui, and it is based off a tree. Any discussion in regards to what his name is based off in regards to not being a tree, I am wrong. Apparently both Kukui and Hala are based off of trees. That gives a little bit more credence to Kukui being the substitute regional professor, if not the actual regional professor. I apologize for not realizing this a lot sooner. I go straight to Pokemon Co. JP, Pokemon Company Japan's YouTube channel to watch the announcement trailer. I got the live action movie trailer of Sun and Moon of a Japanese boy clearly going to Hawaii. He moved to Hawaii apparently, and that's how I know about everything revealed in Sun and Moon. I then shortly find out later that the English version, or the English version, there is actually just a gameplay trailer, just straight up. Pokemon! 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 Hello everyone, I'm Dustin, Benzel, and welcome to another Pokemon X, Y, and Z anime discussion. So apparently there were two trailers. There was the Japanese live-action version on the official Japan Pokemon Company YouTube channel, and then there was just the gameplay trailer for Sun and Moon on the Pokemon Company International's YouTube website or whatever. So, just before I show you my reaction of that trailer, I want to talk a little bit of how hilarious this is or whatever. Yeah, it was just interesting that the last thing I heard was to go to Masuda's Twitter or whatever before I went to bed or something, close to around the time that I went to bed. I saw go to Pokemon Co. JP or whatever, you know, the official Pokemon Company Japan's website or YouTube channel or whatever, and I was like, okay, that's where I'm going to go. That's where the announcement is. I didn't think that there was going to be an English gameplay trailer specifically for what's going on. So I got to watch a movie basically of a kid who went to a new region. Very clever, Japan, very clever. Going to a new place to live, and by the common theme of something that people enjoy, the people who live in the region you go to, and as well, finding a common interest. Let's put it this way, the Japan trailer of Sun and Moon, of what we got in Sun and Moon, was very touching and heartwarming. A little awkward because I just wanted the gameplay trailer in comparison, but it was very nice and touching and heartwarming or whatever to see a little boy coming from Japan to Hawaii basically, and you know, he doesn't seem like he's having all friends or something, and then he sees something that's from his hometown in Japan, Pokemon, and then he starts playing it, and then he sees these other kids and he's like, no, I gotta step up and be friendly towards other people. And then he went and talked to an American boy, I guess is what it would be, and they shared Pokemon in common. They became good friends, and I felt like that was a heartwarming moment. A little unnecessary for me to wake up to, but definitely very nice and very clever of what Nintendo Game Freak were planning in regards to that trailer. So anyway, here's my reaction to that particular trailer that I watched. If you kind of want to hear what I thought in regards, I'm not going to show you the video because I stopped it a couple of times and rewound, and I wasn't really set up because I just woke up and I wanted to react as soon as possible. So I am going to cut out parts of the trailer that I just don't say anything and I'm just staring, and I think those are mostly the live action parts or whatever. But any time that I'm talking, even if there's like no way to link it or whatever, I will of course discuss it, and of course maybe I'll have images also during that time, but of course I will talk about the images that I've got recorded from the trailers, and I will discuss them later. Hello, my fellow Pokemon fans. Sorry about the hair, I just woke up and I'm ready to go on the internet and see what the announcement of Pokemon was, since it was supposed to come out like a couple of hours ago. So I'm gonna go straight to YouTube, Pokemon Co. JP. I think that's where I'm supposed to go, and I should be going there for the trailer of Pokemon or video, and I'm going to watch it and I'm going to discuss it. Unlike other things, I'm probably going to stop it when I see something interesting, if it is interesting at all. So I really hope that the thumbnail does not reveal anything. Okay, trying to block out so I can just... Okay, I think this is it. Okay, it's 2 minutes and 33 seconds. Let's see what this is about. Looks like a trailer. Okay. So what we see someone playing their new 3DS, and it looked like the Pokemon Yellow games. Oh, and a mountain area. Looks like Coronet, actually. Probably not, though. So it's just a kid. Ooh. Oh, hey, it looks like they're in some tropical area. I think this is where the new region is taking place. He is from Japan. Oh. It's in English. Interesting. So it's taking place in an English-speaking country? Or location? If it's Hawaii, then it's definitely not a country, but you get what I'm saying. Speaking. He's in front of people. Everyone's clapping. Oh, moon. Sun and moon. New Pokemon launched today. I just saw some weird attack on that TV. Let me rewind real quick. Let's see. Yeah, I see this really cool attack that I don't think I've ever seen. It looks like a fire attack. Interesting. Are we going to see new Pokemon? Ooh, that looks like Sun and Moon, and I think I see Legendaries on it. Ooh, someone waving their hand. I see gameplay. Ooh, trainer customization. Sweet. Oh, we got new player characters. Sweet. Ooh, ooh, we see the region. Oh, wow, that's cool. Hey, man, this looks like it could take place in Hawaii. That looks cool. It's like a huge giant island. Wow. And there's a volcano-like thing. I think this is taking place in Hawaii. Oh, is that the professor? Was that the professor that was waving in the beginning? Oh, that'd be cool. Oh, oh, look at that. Oh my god, we just saw the starters. An owl, a cat, and a... I don't know what that is. Just kidding, it's the sea lion thing. I guess they were confirmed after all. Ooh. Oh, nice. And the box arts. So we have this giant lion tiger for the Pokemon Sun and some sort of giant vampire-y moth creature for Moon. Oh my god, that looks freaking awesome. I'm not gonna lie, that moth creature looks amazing. So yeah, it looks like those trademarks that were found were right. Nyabi, Ashimari, and the grass owl Mukuro or whatever. and I'm guessing this. And I sorry if I forgot to do this, but the Sogalele and Luna La 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 trademarks are also confirmed. That is amazing. All right. I don't know how I feel about the starters though. They look kind of weird. I really wish we had Sugimori art of them. That'd probably be a little bit better, but the game art didn't look too good. Oh, but they apparently have different names though. That's weird. They have those are the English names. Takes place in the Alola region, definitely Hawaii. So we have Rowlet, which is the grass owl Pokemon, or whatever. We have Litten. Oh, hey, yeah, Litten looks a lot better in the Sugimori art. And then we have Popplio. Oh, hey, yeah, that looks a little bit better. Hey, it uses the ball thing, yeah. And I kind of cut it out, but when I was talking about the animal starters, I said something about a clown, but in regards to the sea lion, but I didn't quite find any images what I was talking about. But the thing that Popplio or whatever is wearing around its neck, that's what I was trying to refer to in regards to the clown kind of theme that sea lions have or whatever. But I cut it out because I couldn't find an image of that on Google, so I couldn't compare it, so I had to take it out. So yeah, but that is really interesting. Yeah, and then there's like a ball. Yeah, this is. They're very strange Pokemon, that's for sure. I'm definitely liking Litten the most, though. That's cool. It's not going to turn into Tigress, though, which is disappointing. But hey, still looks interesting and awesome. So Rowlet is already automatically a grass flying Pokemon, and then it's fire type Litten and the water type Popplio or whatever. The Alola region. And then of course we have the box art of the Lion Legendary, which looks really awesome. It's all cosmic looking and stuff. Oh wow, that's really cool. But the thing that really is awesome is the Moon Legendary, which is like this bat moth creature which looks really cool. So that's my reaction. I will talk about it. Oh, and it's available November 18th, 2016. I didn't see that in the preview, or I wasn't paying attention. So that's my reaction to the trailer. I'm kind of hyped. I still don't know what I feel about the starters, but you know, it's whatever. So I will go ahead and end the video here. And so anyway, that was my reaction. So thank you for watching, and I will see you later. Okay, so you saw the trailer. You saw that I watched the trailer, and then I went to Cerebi and found out that the starters actually had English names. When I saw them, I'm like, oh, I guess the trademarks were wrong, despite the fact that they were accurate. And I'm like, really? So Mukuro is Rowlet now. Uh, Nyabi is Litten, and Ashimari is Popplio. Popplio. Hold on. Popplio. But then I realized, oh, that's their English names. Whoops. Woo. So, yeah, that was my reaction, and great and everything. So, in this particular video, I am going to address this later, but I just want you to know that this particular video is primarily about the starters and the box art legendaries that we saw in the trailer. I will discuss my thoughts and opinions and lots of other things in regards to that. I will have another video, and the reason why I will talk about it later in this video is because when I was making my notes, I realized that this was going to be a very long video, and I wanted to separate it. But I will touch a little bit on other things in the trailer, just a quick notes here and there, but I will discuss it later in another video. So this is just about the starters as well as the box art legendaries. So I see here the trademarks were indeed accurate, which is amazing. And I'm actually surprised no one is making a bigger deal about them because we knew about the trademarks. I go to Bulbapedia and it's not even mentioned that the trademarks were revealed earlier and people were talking about before the episode. Also, in regards to the other trademarks we have, they're not exactly being applied to the legendaries. I will, of course, discuss that it's not confirmed and they could be wrong, but those other trademarks in regards to the legendaries, I'm still going to use those trademark names that we got. So first off, really nice, we got a grass owl, we got a fire cat, and a sea lion Pokemon for our starters. And of course, that's in relation to the trademarks. Now, I'm going to be honest, when I first saw them, at the time, I was a little mixed about how to feel about the starters. I was like, really? Those are kind of weird for starters. But then later on, I found out that Sugimori art of these starters existed, so I decided to check it out. And the Sugimori art definitely makes me feel more comfortable about the starters. And of course, I will discuss everything in regards to that later on. So it's really nice. So at this point, everyone's already saying all of this, so you're probably asking, what are you, Dustin? Are you Team Rowlet, Team Litten, or Team Popplio? And I say here, to be honest, I'm nothing. This is one of those things where the starters I feel very neutral to. I mean, I do have preferences, but for other reasons. But if just the basis of the Pokemon, I feel like I would be comfortable if I was a starting trainer and I were to just objectively look at these Pokemon, I would probably have a hard time choosing whether I want the grass owl, the fire cat, or even the sea lion Pokemon, because they all have their own little thing and cool little things or whatever. But I definitely have to say that I'm definitely more leaning towards Litten than the other starters, and that's because I'm most interested in. If you've seen my animal starter speculation, even though what I speculated in that video is probably not going to happen, you can kind of understand why I'm looking more towards the Fire Cat more than any of the other starter Pokemon. So if I was going to rate these starters, and basically I say technically Litten and Rowlet are kind of like equal to each other and like an 85 out of 100, but I would say Popplio is a little bit lower, like 83 out of 100 or whatever. Not much of a difference. And the reason why, and I will explain why, it's just that Rowlet and Litten just seem more interesting to me than Popplio. And of course, if you saw my animal starter speculation, you knew that I wasn't entirely set on a sea lion starter Pokemon. Not to say that it isn't cute. I will discuss my thoughts on each of these starters, but basically, yeah, it's kind of like that. It's kind of very similar to sixth generation, where I liked Delphox and Greninja almost equally, obviously preferring Delphox over the other starters, and Chestnut was last. In this particular instance, I think, again, I'm going to have to choose the Litten line, depending on what the evolutions are going to look like, with, of course, Rowlet and its evolutions. Then, of course, we're going to get Popplio. But just like sixth generation, I'm very neutral to the starters, and I have no problem with either of them. So I'm looking forward to having all the starters, basically, and basically battling them. Breed my Litten final evolution with a Ditto or something, or if I can lucky get a female, breed it with another, get a couple of Littens, and then trade it for Popplio and, of course, Rowlet later on. So, of course, you're probably wondering, okay, so what is your opinion of the starter? So we're going to start in general. We're going to do it in the order that they are, like fire or grass, fire, and then water, and that's what I have. So we're going to do Rowlet first, Litten, and then Popplio. So let's go talk about Rowlet. Now, Rowlet is the Rowlet, I think it's Rowl, because it's like owl, so I don't think it's Roll. So I think it's Rowlet. the grass-flying Pokemon with a unique called Leafage, which I believe is the combination of leaf and plumage. And plumage, of course, is the entirety of a bird's feathers. Like if you were to like defeather a bird or something like that, the entire collection of the feathers is called the plumage. So it makes sense that it would be called Leafage because it's based off of a bird and a grass Pokemon, so Leafage would make sense. But I'm not entirely sure if Leafage is unique to Rowlet or not. So it seems likely, since it's about grass feathers basically launching at the opponent or whatever. And it's definitely interesting. The cool thing though is that Rowlet is, or not Rowlet, Leafage is Rowlet's version of Ember and Water Gun basically. So it doesn't have it doesn't have it doesn't have Absorb or Giga Drain or no, not Giga Drain, Mega Drain. It doesn't have Razor Leaf or Vine Whip as one of its starting grass types. It straight up has Leafage, which is really cool, though I'm expecting a very weak attack. So even if it's a unique signature type move for the Rowlet line, I'm not expecting something all that interesting in regards to competitively, although I don't really care about all that much. But late game, when you're dealing with like Flamethrower and Surf or Hydro Pump or something, yeah, Ember doesn't really, I don't really like Ember all that much at that particular point. So hopefully Rowlet will have stronger moves that it can learn later on. So also in regards to the typing, which is grass flying, I don't really like the grass flying type, and I'm kind of honestly hoping that it changes when it's fully evolved. Otherwise, I think the starter is going to have a hard time against ice types, and I almost feel like there's going to be a purposeful ice type just for Rowlet to deal with for those who choose Rowlet. But another grass flying Pokemon is definitely interesting. We basically only have Tropius and Shaman Skyform, if I'm not mistaken, in regards to grass flying. But not really looking forward to it as a starter, at least grass flying and water flying are very strange typings to give for a starter Pokemon. I mean, we have plenty of these fire flyings, and while all three of them on top of flying do have their 4 times weaknesses, grass flying for ice, water flying for electricity, and fire flying for rock or whatever, it's just, are we going to see a water flying starter in the future? Maybe that, because we already have Rowlet now, and then of course there's Charizard. So I don't know if I really like the typing, but there is one positive thing about it being part flying, even though it doesn't really matter because of 6th gen, but I will discuss why there is a positive later. It's not really in relation to the game, so you can kind of guess where I'm going on if you really think, well, not the game, what else could it be? So I'll just let you think about that for a while. So now on to Rowlet's design. Rowlet is kind of cute in the fact that it is just what it is. And it is a grass owl Pokemon, which is really nice, and it looks interesting, but I'm not sure where this Pokemon is going evolutionary-wise. I don't know if we're going to get like this 6-foot giant owl Pokemon that's like grass and got like leaves coming all over its body. Maybe it's got like whips coming out of its body or whatever. I'm not sure how to describe it, so I'm not sure if we're going to get like a fighting type. Well, not necessarily a fighting type, but kind of like how you would expect Duat or Samurott to be part fighting, and they do learn some fighting type moves, but they're not really fighting types or whatever. So I don't know if we're going to get like something like a grass fighting or whatever, or just straight up grass flying or whatever. What would be kind of interesting, though I don't really expect this, is if we actually got some strange grass dragon owl dragon type Pokemon at the end. I mean, I think it's possible Altaria is part dragon and it's a very bird Pokemon, but I don't know if they just wanted to add more dragons to third generation outside of the Bagon line and the Flygon. Vibrava, I think, is also part dragon, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if they just want to have a grass flying, but I wouldn't be opposed to a grass dragon fully evolved starter or whatever, but it's just hard to tell at this moment, especially when it already has a dual typing. Also, funny, Game Freak, it's really nice how the grass starters are the only basic starters that have dual typing. First with Bulbasaur, now with Rowlet. No love for the fire water Pokemon? No? No, Game Freak? Just saying, it's not really much of a criticism or a complaint, but I find it weird that the grass starters are probably at this moment the most likely to have a dual type at the beginning of their whatever. In their basic stage is what I'm trying to say here. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's of course move on to Litten. And Litten is a fire type Pokemon with moves like Ember. You know, it's really weird to see these moves. I understand that they need to have weak moves or whatever, but I remember some, I don't know if they were like fan-made games or actual games or whatever, that I realized that starters in the basic stage really don't learn that many cool moves. I mean, with Litten, what am I expecting to get as its next fire type? You know, I'm probably not going to get Flamethrower until it reaches the level of which it should already be fully evolved at this point. And it's like, you know, I feel like they need to put more effort into these elemental types to actually make sure that we have decent types. I mean, I'm perfectly fine having these 3 starter elements having a 60 base stat move or whatever, you know, like Ember's like what 40 or 20 or something of that nature. So something like 60 would definitely be helpful, and it's like something that could be useful for like the first 2 stages, and then when you go to the final evolution, you want a you'll want Flamethrower or whatever because it's like 85 or 90 or however they decided to lower the power in regards to the elemental type moves of that nature or whatever. So yeah, I would really like it if they focused on certain elemental types such as the elemental trio that we get as starters and give a lot of moves for them that are very ranged or whatever, so that we can have fairly decent stronger attacks later on in the games or whatever before we are fully evolved, because having Litten with like Ember throughout the whole entire time, maybe it can learn like Bite or some dark move or something like that. It doesn't really feel right to me. And I remember playing this game and I was like, oh, trying to get my Pokemon to a certain level to learn a certain move or whatever was annoying. And then you have to wait until something's fully evolved before you can even think about having like Flamethrower, because you obviously do not want to wait until your Litten is at level 36 to learn Flamethrower, or level 34. You just want it to evolve as soon as possible so you can get that boost and stats. I'm not sure what Litten's typing would be if it were to be fully evolved, if it would be a dual typing, but I almost expect a Fire Dark based on the color scheme that it has, which would definitely be interesting to have like a Fire Dark starter Pokemon. Litten's design. At first, I was disappointed because Litten wasn't Tiger-esque that I wanted, because I was really expecting some really cute orange and black striped cat Pokemon that we could like a really cute, adorable kitten that has like tiger stripes and has designs in regards to it being a tiger Pokemon. But basically, we just got like this fire cat. And of course, I was like, oh, well, great. That means we're not going to get a Tigress evolution at the end of the evolution thing. And I was like very disappointed that we weren't going to get something like that, because that would have been epic. Maybe we'll get a fire dark bipedal Pokemon or whatever. So yeah, I don't know. But then I thought more about the region it is, and I don't know if I said this, but apparently the region of this seventh generation is Alola, I believe. So yeah, Alola. So yeah, that's the region. We're going to the Alola region. So then I thought, because the Alola region is definitely Hawaiian themed, I mean, at this particular point, there's like no reason to believe that it's not based off of Hawaii, because Alola is a very Hawaiian themed name. And then, of course, we have that one character's name, which is very Hawaiian in nature. And I'll talk about it in like either a little bit in this video or the other video that I'm making in regards to the trailers. But then I thought, well, I know Hawaii has a volcano, I believe. And so I was like, oh, maybe this Litten is actually volcanic based. It kind of does look like it does look volcanic based in that the colors are black and red, and the black could either be the volcano itself, or maybe ash or igneous rock. Basically, it could be that black coloring or whatever, and then the red markings could be based off of lava. And then I realized, oh, okay, that makes sense. If it's a volcanic based Pokemon or something, maybe we can get like a volcano like Fire Cat as its final evolution or something. And then I'm thinking, oh, this might actually be a Pokemon that can learn Eruption. And if it is supposed to be slightly based off of a volcano, but cat wise, and that's why it's the color scheme that it is and the slight design that it is, although its design is nothing like a volcano, but definitely this color scheme, if it's definitely based off a volcano, then I expect definitely it to have Eruption in its moveset, at least in its final evolution form. But I guess we'll have to wait and see what that will be. So just thinking of what it could be based off of in terms of volcano wise or whatever, I am imagining some really epic designs in my head. I obviously can't show you because I'm not skilled or good at drawing or whatever, but I can just imagine this really nice jet black and red fully evolved Pokemon that looks like a cat, and it would look amazing and everything. It's like, I'm just thinking of it right now, and I'm like, that is definitely a Pokemon that Litten should fully evolve into or whatever. But yeah, it definitely does look interesting, and because I really want to know what Litten fully evolves into, because I'm really looking forward to it. I think that's why I prefer Litten technically over the other ones. But like I said, overall, I'm very neutral towards the starters this generation, in that I don't necessarily have one that stands out. Delphinican line stood out, and then I didn't really like the Froakie line. Greninja was a little bit weird, but then when I really thought about it and even had Greninja in the games or whatever, and then I'm like, oh, okay, this is definitely a cool Pokemon. And then the last one was basically Chespin, Quilladin, and Chestnut, and I didn't necessarily have a problem with that Pokemon, but it just didn't stand out as much. So just thinking of what Litten could fully evolve into definitely is the reason why I'm most interested in Litten and would probably choose it. Otherwise, I'm not really sure what I would choose between Rowlet and Popplio. I mean, I probably would just choose Rowlet just because it probably could evolve into a giant grass owl Pokemon. But then again, there's Popplio. It definitely seems like it could be interesting to see what it could fully evolve into, but I don't know. It's very strange. So anyway, we got Popplio. Time to move on from Litten and move on. So now we're on to Popplio, the water type Pokemon. And of course, this isn't the classifications, because I think Rowlet is the. Well, hold on, let me actually look real quick, because I didn't mention this, I don't think. I did make other notes later on in regards to something else or whatever, but I didn't have the classifications. Like, I think the Rowlet is the Quill Pokemon. Yeah, Rowlet is the Grass Quill Pokemon. Litten is the Fire Cat Pokemon. I thought that was the case, but I wasn't sure. And then, of course, Popplio is the Sea Lion Pokemon. So yeah, I don't necessarily, but they are, but Popplio is definitely a water type. That's what I mean by water type Pokemon. It'd be kind of weird if you had like a Jellyfisher, the water type Pokemon. Jellyfish, the water type Pokemon, is a water type. That'd be kind of weird. So hopefully I didn't confuse you when I said that it was a water type Pokemon. So anyway, this is a Pokemon that apparently makes water balloons similar to how sea lions use balls in like SeaWorld or whatever. And I think I did talk about this in my animal starter speculation video that I did. And I'm really glad that I was actually right in regards to this. That, of course, that it would create this water ball and be able to use it and stuff. So I'm really happy about that. And I'm expecting that Popplio is definitely going to learn a semi-signature move in regards to it, given that the description on the English website apparently calls it water balloons. I'm expecting that it's probably going to be something like that. Maybe water balloon will be its own particular attack or whatever. But yeah, it's really nice that they're really connecting the whole sea lion in like SeaWorld or marine sea parks or whatever. Yeah, like a sea park or whatever. So it's really nice that I was accurate in that moment. So yes. So then, of course, it uses the water balls for like acrobatic purposes, and it also says for like movement, for like jumping or whatever. It also said that it prefers water over land, but it can still do things on land or whatever. So, yeah, it was really nice or whatever. As for dual typing, I'm at a loss as to what Popplio could possibly be. I am not at all sure what it could evolve into. Could it evolve into a fighting type? There is a little bit thing that I want to mention later that's not game related that might indicate that it could evolve into a fighting type. Or maybe it could evolve into an ice type, then Rowlet will be definitely in trouble there. Or will it just be a pure type like Samurott? It's really hard. Popplio is probably the hardest one that I can actually think of what it's going to evolve into. I don't know if Popplio is going to evolve into this like bipedal sea lion type Pokemon, or it's just basically going to get bigger and more monstrous and stronger looking or whatever. I just have no idea what to expect of Popplio. So, in regards to design, now, here's the thing that Popplio does stand out in regards to the other two. I think of the three, Popplio is definitely the cutest of the three, just in an awkward kind of way. But if you look at it, it really does look like it could be cute and adorable. Like Litten just looks like your normal fire cat Pokemon. It's cool and everything, and it could be regarded as cute, but Popplio has this exaggerated cuteness in regards to it, and then of course Rowlet is kind of a strange. I mean, Rowlet could be regarded as cute, but I don't. I think it's just like too generic and basic for it to be considered really cute. Just like it's cute enough for it to be a Pokemon or whatever. But I definitely think Popplio definitely comes out more as being definitely cute in comparison. So yeah, I definitely think it's cute. The reason why I'm not so why I'm not so pumped about Popplio or whatever, or entirely sold on Popplio, is because it looks like it's a very strange design. Looking at this Sugimari art or whatever, it looks discombobulated, the design. I mean, it's still cute or whatever, but when I see this art of Popplio here, yeah, when I see this, it does look cute. It's trying to be cute and adorable. It has this thing. I don't. Yeah, in the preview or in my reaction, I did say that I did cut out a moment in my animal starter speculation about it being a based on of a clown. I was referring to the color. I know that sea lions had that collar or whatever, but I could not find a picture of it because I was trying to think of it and I didn't think of the word collar until that I watched the announcement trailer or whatever. So it definitely does look clown based or whatever, which is what I was going to say, but stupid me, I cut it out because I couldn't find any images and I didn't want anyone to be confused as like a clown, Dustin. What do you mean a clown? So yeah, that's why I kind of cut it out. But The thing that gets me is that this looks like it's like a combination of Drillbur and Cubchoo, and it's just weird and everything. It's cute and everything, but it looks very strange. Like the mouth of it and the nose and the mouth and or the nose mouth and the little ball nose thing or whatever. It kind of looks like it's separate, and then if you like try to ignore that, you got this weird otherwise creature with its head or whatever. It's still cute, but very strange. I'm probably gonna have to wait until we get other angles of Popplio or even anime art before I'm totally sold on Popplio. But otherwise, I am neutral. It's just that I think Popplio is just a little bit lesser. So that's pretty much it. It's cute, just in a strange looking kind of way. So anyway, of course, let's move on to the box art legendaries. I've discussed my thoughts on the starters. Time to move on to the main course of this particular discussion, basically. In fashion to the XY trailer, we got the starters' names, but we did not get the box art legendaries. Who knows, maybe Koro will reveal the names for the box art legendaries. It's entirely possible. But there were other trademarks that I forgot to mention. I'm pretty sure I forgot to mention them, but there were two trademarks, and it was something that even Cerebi mentioned, and I definitely mentioned this on Twitter. I was talking about it or whatever, and I was like, why are people so certain that these are Pokemon or whatever? I was like, oh, because it's got Sun and Moon in their names. I'm like, oh, okay. And then, of course, I watched Tyranitar Tube's video on this or whatever, and I was like, oh, of course, all right, yeah. And it does seem like they are. Well, see, I didn't go to Tyranitar Tube when I looked at these. I actually went and saw it on Cerebi because Cerebi announced these trademarks or whatever. And then I just was like watching other people's videos on these trademarks, and then I watched Tyranitar Tube, and then it sort of like clicked a little bit more. But the trademarks are Solagaleo and Lunala, basically. If I'm saying this right, Solagaleo, and Lunala. These are the trademarks that we got first, I believe, or at least that's what was found first. And then, of course, we found Mukuro, Naiabi, and Ashimari in regards to the trademarks. And so, in regards to these particular box art legendaries, are they referring to Solgaleo and Lunala? I'm not really sure. It does make sense because Solgaleo has the word Leo in it, and Leo regards to lion, and of course the box art legendary for Pokemon Sun is a giant legendary cat-like Pokemon. So it does seem like it does make sense, but it is still not confirmed, even though I will refer to the Pokemon Sun as Solgaleo and the Pokemon Moon legendary as Lunala. It is still not confirmed. Wait until we get confirmation, like Cerebi or something. Wait until Koro, or wait until they are actually announced. Now, I expect Solgaleo to be the English name for the lion. That seems like it could be straight up or whatever. Lunala is a little weird. I'm not sure if they're going to slightly change that, like Lunalar or something in English. I don't really know. But it seems like Legendaries, like, they keep their names, so I'm almost expecting it to be the English name. But yeah, basically wait until these box art Legendaries are confirmed to have actual names. But in the meantime, I am going to use these trademarks because it does make sense. So now the question is, now that I've discussed those particular trademarks in regards to these box art Legendaries, am I Team Sun or am I Team Moon? If we go purely by the designs of the legendary, by the designs of Solgaleo and Lunala, then I'm Team Moon. But I'm not one way or the other at the moment because there's more to a game than just the box art legendary. But I definitely think Lunala is definitely the better legendary design-wise. And of course, if you've seen my reaction, and I will play another clip when I talk about it, you'll actually see that I was like most impressed with Lunala. So anyway, let's talk about Solgaleo. Now, unlike the starters, I can't really talk about what they could evolve into and stuff because obviously they're legendaries. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about their potential typing and their design, and that's pretty much it. So let's talk about Solgaleo, or if that's not its actual name, the giant white lion, if I can actually talk, with a really cool forehead thing or whatever. So typing wise, I think Solgaleo is definitely going to be a fire type. You can't be based off of a sun or be the box art of the Pokemon Sun. You can't be based off of a sun or be the Pokemon Sun box art legendary if you're not going to be part fire. There's no way. And I realize that's very weird because we're getting a fire cat Pokemon, and it does strange for a starter. So it is strange that Litten and Solgaleo would kind of share a fire typing or whatever, but I don't really think it matters all that much. But if it has a secondary typing, now here's it's going to be a little strange, but looking at Solgaleo, there's only two types that really come to mind, and that's either fairy or psychic type. I say fairy because I think fairy should be the proper typing for these mythological legendary Pokemon that we get, like Reshiram definitely would have been a fairy type if it was a Pokemon that came out when fairy types. Dragon, no, I don't think Reshiram would have been quite a dragon. I think they would have like reworked it a little bit more if they were gonna have like Zekrom and Qrem being dragons. I think they would have worked a little bit weird, different. But given that Reshiram has this very mammalian type thing in regards to the other one, I do feel like Reshiram would have been a fairy type. So I feel like the same thing here in that we do have a fairy type. So if there was going to be a mythological type in regards to the legendaries, I definitely think it would make sense for it to be fairy, because that's why we had dragon Pokemon to begin with, because it was this mythological creature and it was the closest thing that we have. Now that we have fairy, dragon can be separated from that mythological basis, and then of course we can have fairy. So that's what I'm expecting, in why I do feel like it will be part fairy is because of that. Now, I also say it could also probably be a psychic type. And the reason why I say it's a psychic type is because of the stars. It's star forehead, it's cosmological, if I'm saying the right word in regards to that. Let's go with like celestial. Celestial, like in the stars or something like that. And I feel like what type encompasses the celestial outer space more is probably the psychic type, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, Olympia had her psychic abilities because she like read the stars or something, like the stars would like converge or whatever, and she was able to see visions that way or something. So I think in regards to cosmological events or something, it best is represented by psychic types. So I can see why Solgaleo would be part psychic because of that, because of its forehead and it's very star based or whatever. But I'm not really sure. Otherwise, I think it could just be a fire type. But if it's dual typed, I'm expecting either fire fairy or fire psychic. Those are my top choices. Now, design wise, now I already said that I prefer Lunala, or the Pokemon Moon box art legendary, but I still like Solgaleo. It's still a pretty cool looking Pokemon. It's a giant lion type creature. Hold on, I got kind of lost here. Okay, so, but I just prefer Lunala's design more, and you can see why in my reaction or whatever. And I do find it weird that we got a cat legendary along with a cat starter, but it's okay. Nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. And the thing that I like most, of course, about Solgaleo, and I already hinted at, is definitely the cosmological, celestial, astrological forehead that it has, where it's like basically stars or whatever, and looking through the forehead looks like you're peering into another galaxy or another universe or whatever. I kind of do like that. And I do think that being a giant mythological lion legendary Pokemon is really cool, but I just think Lunala or the Pokemon Sun Legendary is basically just much more epic design-wise. So anyway, let's of course move on to Lunala, or if you don't like that particular name, just the Pokemon Moon Legendary, I guess. Now the first typing I see when I look at Lunala and what I immediately thought when I saw Lunala was basically the Fairy type. And I know what you're thinking. Well, Dustin, you said that Solgaleo could probably be a Fairy type, but Solgaleo and Lunala having a shared Fairy typing is not unheard of. I mean, after all, I did mention Reshiram, Zekrom, and Kyurem. Those were all Dragon types or whatever. So it's entirely plausible that it could happen. And Ho-Oh and Lugia may have not shared a typing, with Lugia being water psychic, I believe, or no, was it psychic flying? Yeah, it was psychic flying, never mind. So yeah, they did share a flying type in that as well, with Ho-Oh being fire flying and Lugia being psychic flying. So it's definitely not unheard of Pokemon sharing types. Even in Sinnoh region, we had Palkia, we had Dialga, and Giratina, and they all shared the Dragon type. So it really wouldn't be surprising if Solgaleo and Lunala were to share a Fairy typing. But basically, I do think that first off, when I look at Lunala, it definitely looks like it could be a Fairy type. There's like no other type that I think stands out most as a Fairy type, and of course that's contributed by the fact that moon related aspects within the game are already part fairy. The move that was introduced a long time ago, Moonlight, or whatever, that restored your health, something like Umbreon had or whatever, it was changed into a fairy type. And of course we had Moonblast, which is also a fairy type. Having a Pokemon like Lunala being basically inspired by the moon, you almost have this feeling that it could be fairy type. Now, if it was a dual type, this is where I get a little confused as to where it could be, because I'm not really sure what it looks like it could be, but I'm expecting that it could also be maybe a dark type being immune to Solgaleo. Remember, Zygarde was at a disadvantage to both Xerneas and Yveltal. Yveltal was flying, therefore was immune to ground type moves, and of course Xerneas was immune to dragon type moves. So it's not like it would be impossible for a Pokemon to be completely immune to another one. And of course, Groudon is at a huge disadvantage against Kyogre, so I don't think it's possible to imagine Solgaleo as part psychic and having Lunala be a part dark or whatever. So yeah, that's even then. But if not dark type, I can imagine like Steel, Flying, maybe also psychic or whatever. But I think my top picks for what Lunala's typing might be are Fairy Dark or Fairy Steel. And I say steel because it looks like it could be a steel. If you look at its design, you'll see the yellow part of its body, and it looks like it could be very metallically sharp, those like edges or whatever. And I'm thinking, maybe it could also be part steel. And I realized that, well, do we really need another steel fairy? I mean, we did get Klefki in sixth generation, and then of course we also have Magearna, which is also steel fairy or whatever. But if those are steel fairy or whatever, I'm thinking it's going to be different for Lunala. I think Lunala is going to be fairy steel. I know it's not really that much of a difference, but given that Noivern is flying dragon as opposed to dragon flying, it does seem reasonable that if the primary type is fairy over steel, that it's technically a different typed Pokemon a little bit, even though the weaknesses are the same or whatever. I feel like Noivern is more of a flying Pokemon than it is a dragon, but it shares those characteristics. So that's just my opinion in regards to that. So in regards to the design, the reason why I like Lunala out of all the other Pokemon, as I've already said, is that it was the one that caught my attention the most. Not even in regards to the starters. The starters, I was like, oh wow, we got starters. Oh, that's cool or whatever. But I was like, Do I really like those though? I mean, they're the grass, owl, fire, cat, and sea lion Pokemon. The trademarks were accurate and correct, but do I really like them? And then I saw Solgaleo and I was like, oh, hey, cool, we're getting a lion Pokemon for the box art legendary or whatever. And then I saw Lunala. And then, of course, I'm going to again, well, not again, but you've already probably seen my clip because you watched the reaction in my video. This is what I said in regards to Lunala when I saw it.
Ooh. Oh, nice. And the box arts. And some sort of giant vampire-y moth creature for Moon. Oh my god, that looks freaking awesome. I'm not gonna lie, that moth creature looks amazing. The thing that really is awesome is the Moon Legendary, which is like this bat moth creature which looks really cool.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did think it looked like a vampire-like moth creature. You know, that was pretty funny that I said that. So I'm definitely Team Lunala over Solgaleo because this Lunala thing is just epic. There's like nothing wrong about it that I can find. It really is just epic. It in the trailer it looked like a moth. It doesn't look so much like a moth now. It definitely looks more like a vampire or whatever. But this thing is just epic. It's like screaming to be caught and used or whatever, you know. And then of course we go to like Solgaleo basically, and as epic as it is, it's just pretty basic in comparison. You get like this quadruped animal that's a basic lion, and it looks really cool. Definitely, Solgaleo definitely looks like that Digimon, which I think was like Leomon's mega form or whatever. Like there was like this really quadruped Digimon creature that was related to Leomon in the games, I believe, and it does look similar to that. But then, of course, when you compare that to this giant vampiric looking monstrous creature that definitely looks like it comes from space and is definitely some sort of alien overlord to take over the world, this thing looks epic. This thing is like you can make a horror movie out of this. And if someone was skilled enough or even or whatever or even the next games, I would want anything related to Lunala to basically be horror. Because if you just see this thing flying around and then you're like getting all tense and nervous or whatever, and this thing just pops out of nowhere, it's gonna scare you. Unlike Solgaleo, who is like, oh, yes, our protector is here, we're safe here, whatever. You can't really make a horror movie about Solgaleo, but I definitely like Lunala, and I definitely prefer it. It's like so epic looking, and especially that move that Lunala did in the trailer where it like had all these beams and they like combined or whatever, like it spiraled into this beam attack. That was awesome. I can't wait to figure out what that move is called. And I'm pretty sure it's a signature move, but it would still be pretty cool if it was more that other Pokemon can use. But I definitely think it looks really awesome. So, but like I said, I can't be completely Team Moon, Team Pokemon Moon, because there's other factors get involved. I mean, I would love just to get Moon over. See, that's the thing. When I thought of Sun and Moon, I'm like, oh, Moon sounds so much more epic. I feel like we're going to get like a version exclusive of a werewolf like Pokemon and Moon and stuff. And I've thought of all these cool things like these dark night creatures that would exist in Pokemon Moon or whatever. And I'm like, Pokemon Sun. It sounds cheerful and awesome and everything like that, but what are we really going to get, you know? Maybe a solar panel Pokemon? Yeah, that's what we're gonna get. We're gonna get a solar panel. We're gonna get like a, I don't know what a solar panel Pokemon's type would be outside of Steel, but yeah, maybe like Steel Fairy, maybe. Just kidding. I don't know. So yeah, So my overall opinion of the Pokemon that we have, especially Magearna, while definitely not as extremely likable as the 6th generation Pokemon, I definitely believe design-wise, including Magearna, I would definitely say these Pokemon so far are far better than 5th generation. When 5th generation came out, I really had a hard time liking any of the Pokemon. But these Pokemon, if these designs are going to be the same quality throughout all the other Pokemon that we get, I'm going to enjoy Pokemon 7th generation in regards to the designs. Because just look at Lunala. That thing's epic. And Litten, if it evolves into the way that I think it is going to be pretty cool and everything. So I definitely am glad that we're not going to get a 5th generation so far in regards to designs or whatever. It does seem like they did put some effort into the Pokemon. So yeah, I guess we'll just have to move on in regards to that. Okay, so before I completely finish this video by brushing up on other aspects to the trailer before ending the video so you can watch my second video in regards to those things, there is one question in regards to this, and I've been saving it, and of course it's not game related, but it is definitely anime related, and I'm sure at this particular point you want to know, hold on, I just realized that my video has gone longer than 54 minutes, so I'm going to have to stop here because I'm using Windows Movie Maker, and then I'll continue on and I'll splice the videos together. So I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back here. Okay, so now we're going back into the anime side of things real quick. And of course, now that the starters have been revealed, I'm sure you're all dying to know, if you watch my anime reviews or whatever, if Ash Ketchum is the main protagonist of Sun and Moon, which starter do I want him to be with? We kind of have a problem here. I could honestly see him with any of the 3 Pokemon, or even all 3 of them. Obviously, I would prefer Litten over Rowlet and Popplio, but I can see why they would choose the other 2 over Litten, to the point that I hope for once that Ash gets all 3 of them and fully evolved. Can you imagine if Ash had all 3 generational starters or whatever and they like fully evolved? Litten fully evolved, Popplio fully evolved, and Rowlet fully evolved or whatever. I think that'd be pretty epic in my opinion. And of course, Ash's traveling companions could have other Pokemon. And I also say here, what would be kind of interesting if Sun and Moon introduced other generational, or introduced alternative starters that you can get later in the game. They're like completely different Pokemon, but they're not as appealing as the starters now. If those type things are, think of Pansage, Panpour, and Pan Sphere. If we had something like that in the games, I would definitely would prefer a traveling companion to have one of those Pokemon or whatever. It could be, well, maybe not monkeys this time, but maybe we can get like elemental dogs. Maybe we can get like some kind of elemental dog, a basic fire dog, a basic grass dog, a basic water dog, or whatever, that may have 1 or 2 evolutions. Maybe give something like that to the traveling companion. But I would really like it if Ash had all 3 of the starters. And of course, the reason why is, of course, it would really make sense. And of course, I will explain why in regards to that or whatever. So anyway, so now why would they choose one over the other? Well, if we look at Owlet, the English description of Owlet basically says, well, I also say that he's had Noctowl before, but Rowlet is described as lashing out with powerful kicks. Seems like something that Ash would have. It seems like Rowlet is kind of like a fighter. It lashes out with powerful kicks. It kicks its opponents or whatever. So it seems like something that Ash would have. Litten is described as is described as logical and passionate. And if it's passionate for battle, and it definitely seems like something Ash would have. Ash would have a Pokemon that's passionate for battling. So that's why Ash would get Litten. And then Popplio. Popplio is described as both frivolous and hardworking. Popplio can easily get carried away, unleashing enough power in battle to make quite a spectacle. But Popplio's determined spirit means that it could usually be found practicing hard on his balloon skills. So it sounds something very Ash related, something that Ash's Pokemon would do or something like that. My issue, of course, is I definitely, after Ash Greninja, if Ash continues on, I do not want Popplio, unless, of course, Ash gets the other two. So I'm less fond of Popplio on Ash's team more than the other two, especially if they sacrifice Rowlet and Litten to happen. I think it's just too soon, in my opinion, to give Ash another water starter, especially one that I'm not entirely sure that it could even reach the levels of like Sceptile, Infernape, Greninja, and Charizard. I don't think Popplio is that type of Pokemon, even if it were to fully evolve. So I definitely don't want to. I mean, if he had all three, that would be perfectly fine with me, but not in that particular instance. So between Rowlet and Litten, I'm kind of leaning towards Litten. Rowlet comes off a little strange that I can't imagine Rowlet being the big starter Pokemon on Ash's team. But I look at Litten and I think it does seem like a starter that they would give Ash. And it seems like it is the most suitable. It's not. Ash doesn't necessarily get the cutest starters because he's had starters that aren't exactly cute or whatever, and he usually gets the one that I think they're most comfortable with Ash having or whatever. You know, in third generation, he had Trico, which was like a lizard out of a mudfish and a little chick Pokemon. It kind of does make sense that they'd give Trico a turtle and a monkey like type Pokemon. Seem like it would make more sense to give Ash over a little penguin Pokemon. And then in fifth generation, all of them, you know, sure, you could imagine him with Tepig or even Oshawott, but then they gave him Snivy, and Snivy was a female, so it's like, oh, they were willing to give him all the starters then. And then, of course, in sixth gen, uh, over a frog or a hedgehog or a fox Pokemon, what do they give Ash? They give him the frog Pokemon. And then, of course, what we have here now in this particular generation, we have a Grass Owl Pokemon, a Fire Cat Pokemon, and a Sea Lion Pokemon. It kind of seems like the Fire Cat Pokemon, Litten, is the one that stands out the most and would seem like the one that they would most likely give to Ash or whatever. So I definitely think it's the most suitable of the three, because looking at its design, it's not necessarily the cutest, but it definitely doesn't seem like something that girls would have. Litten actually looks like something that boys would want to have. You know, a fire cat Pokemon that looks like that seems like something you'd want to on your team. I mean, do you really want that cute, adorable sea lion Pokemon? Do you really want that grass owl Pokemon? Or do you want this really cool looking fire cat that might be based off of a volcano and stuff? So I think that might be their basis. But it could just be because I prefer Litten over the other three starters. But I can see why they would give Litten, and I really hope they do. But I'll definitely need more time to think about it, maybe even seeing the middle stage starters, or maybe even the confirmation of what Ash would get in the seventh generation. I'll be disappointed if Ash doesn't get Litten, just like I'm disappointed that he didn't get Delphox. But I won't be horribly broken up over it, but it'll just be a shame because I would love to see Litten on Ash's team fully evolved and maybe getting this quadruped bipedal cat starter Pokemon would be really awesome to see, especially if it is actually based off of or inspired by a volcano. But honestly, all three are technically okay. But like I said, Popplio the least because of Greninja. But you know, and especially Rowlet would be really cool because it is a grass flying, and if it is a typing that's going to keep throughout its whole entire starter line of a grass flying, then of course maybe Ash doesn't need to catch the regional bird Pokemon because he already has Rowlet. But you know, we can't exactly say for certain because Ash had three flying types, but I can definitely see if they give Ash Rowlet, they don't necessarily have to give him that woodpecker Pokemon, and then maybe finally some traveling companion can have the regional bird for once or whatever. Or maybe they don't want Ash to conveniently do that, and they want to give him the woodpecker like Pokemon that we saw and maybe they're like, oh, well, maybe that's why they would give Rowlet some other person, so it's between Litten and Popplio. I don't know, it really depends, but I really do think if he gets all three, if Rowlet is going to be a grass flying, I do think that at the very least, Ash could easily just have that and not the regional star bird Pokemon, and then he could catch something really unique. I mean, what is Ash supposed to get in replacement of a regional bird Pokemon? Is he going to get the rodent this time? Are we going to get like some cool normal dragon rodent-like creature or something, or a normal fairy rodent-like creature that Ash is going to get? I'm very excited at the thought of what could Ash get to replace the regional bird. You know, it's obviously not going to be a grass, fire, water if he gets all of them, but ooh, it'll definitely be interesting to see. Maybe there'll be like this basic dart type or something that you can catch. Maybe you can get something like that or whatever. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say in regards to the anime right now. But before I finish this particular video and get started on the region video that I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and give you a sneak peek a little bit of what I'm going to discuss in regards to the next video. So the player character, of all the generations, I am disappointed for the player characters, all 8 of them. They seem very generic. But if Ash were to have a traveling companion in regards to that, I would definitely want the third female, the brown-haired, black-haired girl or whatever, but I'll discuss this later, so let's move on from that. Regional professor or not, there are obviously 2 male characters. There's a young male character, I believe his name is Kukuki, and then there's, of course, Hala, who's the old man that seems to be sending out the starters. I don't know which one's the professor or not, but I will, of course, discuss this later. Of course, we will talk about the rival character, which, of course, is Sawyer's older brother. So we have that to look forward in the anime. Sawyer coming to visit his big bro in the Alola region or whatever, so that'll definitely be interesting. I'll talk about that later. Either it's an important character or your mother. I'm totally down for this character to travel with Ash, by the way, this particular female, for no particular reason or whatever, just, outside of aesthetic and perceived personality reasons, seems like, okay, find me for Ash to travel with her or whatever. So, by the way, in this particular image, is that Meowth behind her? It kind of looks like Meowth. It does make sense for it to be Meowth, but it looks a little distorted and a little melted that maybe it could be a new Pokemon, maybe. Maybe it's like a Meowth look-alike, but it's more like a Pokemon that's melt. Maybe it's like an ice cat or something like that, and it's melting or whatever. It's all slush looking. Or it's just Meowth, but it does look a little weird in this particular image or whatever, so, whatever. Oh, and I say here, please be a hint for following Pokemon. I would love if following Pokemon were a thing again, even though it doesn't look like that in the trailer. So anyway, the region, I say here really quickly that it does look really small, and maybe there's more to the games than just Alola, but it almost seems like the region doesn't justify all the cars and vehicles that we know are coming into the games or whatever. That's all I wanted to talk in this particular video. I will go in depth later on and talk about what I just said in this particular video in regards to those things and in a future video. So anyway, thank you for watching. I'm Dustin Benzel, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.